It's no secret that no one is buying the mainstream narrative surrounding the Charlie Kirk situation.
There's a lot of weird going on with this.
I know.
Because something is fishy here. Something is very fishy here.
That doesn't look like the same person, like ish.
Breaking news, folks. Turns out Charlie Kirk had bones of steel, strong enough to stop bullets.
They said that he took it apart and then put it back together again. Shut the f*** up.
On the face of it, it seems cut and dry, but the more you peel back the layers of the onion, the stronger the stench. This case has a lot of what are the chances attached to it. What are the chances that Charlie Kirk was asked such an ironic question right before his life was taken? What are the chances that there were dozens of social media posts foreshadowing this days before the event? What are the chances that just 5 days after this event, the university starts dismantling the crime scene and replacing everything while there is still an active investigation underway? What are the chances? When there are too many coincidences surrounding an event like this, it makes you wonder if there is a larger conspiracy at play. And the information that I have to show you guys in this video is going to have your jaws on the floor, and you're going to be asking yourself, what are the chances? Hello everyone, if you're a new viewer, welcome. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. If this is your second, third, or fourth time watching one of my videos and you are not yet subscribed, we already go together. Okay, make it official and hit that subscribe button. Today's video is sponsored by me. In case you haven't heard, I do have a merch line. All of my designs come in both men's and women's sizes. I have t-shirts, hoodies, cups, mugs, pillowcases, phone cases, stickers, and more. So be sure to check it out. Now let's talk about this whole Charlie Kirk situation. The deeper you go down the rabbit hole, the crazier it gets. I have seen episodes of Black Mirror that make more sense than this shit. There are 3 things that I want to focus on in this video, and all of them are going to make you rethink this whole situation. Number 1, I want to address the official timeline because there are holes. Number 2, I want to talk about Hunter Kozak. He's the guy who was asking Charlie Kirk the question right before he was shot. I learned new information about him that I haven't seen anyone talk about, and it's pretty substantial information. And number 3, I want to talk about George Zinn. I haven't talked about George Zinn up until now because I largely dismissed him as some old fart who's like cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, but I spent hours learning about this man, and there is a lot of legitimate reason to be suspicious of him. I don't think it's a coincidence that he dropped his pants and created that huge distraction. He's not mentally insane. He's actually highly intelligent, and it's weird that people are scrubbing information about him from the internet. But I did manage to find archived information about him, and I want to talk about it. But first, let's start with topic number 1, the timeline. On September 10, 2025, Tyler Robinson was captured on home surveillance walking towards the UVU campus at 8:07 a.m. And at that time, he was just yards away from the UVU campus. At 8:23 a.m., a gray Dodge Charger registered to Tyler Robinson is seen driving through a nearby residential area, and according to the FBI, at 8:29 a.m., he arrived on campus.
Investigators reviewed additional video footage from UVU surveillance and identified Robinson arriving on UVU campus in a gray Dodge Challenger at approximately 8:29 a.m. on September 10th.
Did I deliberately not edit out the part where the guy stutters because I want it to be shady? No.
Additional video footage.
I guess it's hard to get the words out properly when you're talking shit. I have questions about this, okay? At 8:07 a.m., he is walking to the campus, and he is almost there. Then, I suppose he walks away from the campus, walks back to his car that is parked in a nearby neighborhood, gets in his car, and drives back to the campus. Why? Tyler Robinson went to great lengths to conceal his identity. So why would he drive his vehicle to the campus where his license plate could be recorded? Furthermore, how did he do all of that in such a short amount of time? It's possible that these cameras have incorrect timestamps, but law enforcement hasn't said that, so for now, I'm operating under the assumption that all of these cameras have the correct timestamps. So the next timestamp that I have for him was 9:57 a.m., where once again, home surveillance catches him walking in the same residential area as before, close to the UVU campus. At 11:44 a.m., we once again see him walking to the campus, but this time he's wearing a black long-sleeve shirt and dark pants. And we can see that he's limping, presumably because the gun is in his pants, and we see a vehicle slow down next to him, then drive off. I would like to know who was in that car. It's possible that they saw a young man walking down the street limping, and they slowed down to see if he was okay, and then they drove off. It's also possible that they knew him. It's also possible that it's just a coincidence, but this person got pretty close to him and potentially got a good look at his face. At 11:49 a.m., so 5 minutes later, Tyler Robinson is captured once again on surveillance footage walking towards UVU campus. Taylor Hansen did a great job recreating the route that Tyler Robinson took. Check it out.
He is then, once again, captured on a security camera. You can see a lot of people have just recently walked this. The grass is pushed forward. But this is the route that he takes. He then crosses this unstable bridge, nice and soggy. This is where one of the first initial images was released. He was right here in this position, walking down the stairs in alignment with the wall. That's the camera that actually took that screen grab. And we'll retrace his route. There's another one released right here. So he went underneath this parking structure. So he swings a right here. He's keeping his head down. Obviously, he knows that there's a camera here. And right here is where those additional images were actually released from this security camera. And he's keeping his head down just like this. He walks up. So after the tunnel and the staircase where he was caught on camera, he came out this way. Almost the entirety of this route has not had a single security camera. He walks straight out of these doors. And just like that. Right there's where he laid. Ultimately took the shot that murdered Charlie Kirk.
So that shows you how easy it was for him to access the roof. All he had to do was hop over the railing, run to the edge, lay down, and set up his rifle. But what's interesting is that the spot that he chose was very open. If anyone had come up those stairs, they would have seen him. If they just turned to the left, they would have seen him there, setting up his rifle, setting up his shot. And I'm actually surprised that no one saw him because he was in such an open space. It's interesting. What are the chances? Something else that has surprised me, well, not really, but still, is the incompetence of the FBI. We were told this by the FBI.
When he's first spotted on campus, he has different clothing on, and then he changes clothing on the roof, and then changed back into that clothing at some point, so that when he was apprehended, when he was arrested, the clothing matched the clothing he had on before the shooting here at UV.
So he said that Tyler Robinson changed clothes on the roof.
Wrong.
We know that's not true because the still images from the surveillance footage that they released to the public show Tyler Robinson accessing the roof wearing that same outfit. We also see him walking down the street wearing that same outfit, so it's not true that he changed clothes on the roof. And this is one of the biggest frustrations I have with this case, and it's the reason that so many people don't trust what we're being told, because law enforcement just keeps contradicting themselves and saying things that are demonstrably false. And these are the people who have way more access to the information than we do. In the charging document for Tyler Robinson, it says this: police reviewed surveillance from the camera covering the roof and discovered that it recorded an individual dressed in dark clothing cross the railing from the public walkway and drop onto the roof at approximately 12:15 p.m. Although the individual moved out of the camera's view for a short time, the camera again captured the individual running across the roof and then low crawling to the area the UVU officer recognized as where the suspect suspected sniper had dropped into a prone shooting position. After a short time, which matches the known time of the shot, the individual arose and ran across the roof to the northeast. At 12:23 p.m., so 8 minutes after the shooter had accessed the roof, Charlie Kirk was hit. And we have this footage provided by the FBI, which shows the shooter running away at 12:23, and we see the shooter jump down from the roof and run away. And this footage raises many questions. The first question raised by the footage is, why does it start when the shooter is running away? From this vantage point, we should be able to see the shooter access the roof, run across the roof, get down into a position, take his shot, and then run away. But for some reason, the FBI has not given us that footage. The other questions raised have to do with, shall we call them anomalies in the footage? As the alleged shooter is running away, everything appears normal. We can see a shadow beneath his feet, but then all of a sudden, his shadow miraculously disappears. We also see that this person in the background is walking and minding their own business, and all of a sudden, they just disappear. Did they enter the quantum realm? Did they just so happen to stop walking or change directions at that exact moment? Has the footage been doctored, or was the camera too low quality to accurately capture these events? Who knows? One thing that I've been waiting for is mobile ad data. Do you guys remember back when Trump was shot in Butler, Pennsylvania, the Heritage Foundation's oversight project had done mobile data analysis and found that someone had visited Thomas Matthew Crook's house in Pennsylvania and had also visited DC near an FBI office, and that raised a lot of suspicion. Well, I was kind of surprised that they didn't do the same thing in this instance, and I've been waiting for them to do it, but as far as I know, they haven't done it, which may or may not be of interest, especially considering that one of their former employees was implicated in this investigation the day of the shooting. Do you remember how initially the police kept arresting people, then turning around and saying that they had the wrong guy? One of those individuals was Zachariah Qureshi, and he used to work for the Heritage Foundation. Coincidentally, it was when I was looking into Zachariah Qureshi that I accidentally stumbled upon a lead pertaining to Hunter Kozak. The student questioning Kirk when he was shot is a 29-year-old Jewish math student. Some of his relatives own a security firm specializing in real-time crime prevention, using AI plus video to prevent crimes before they happen. They were featured in Campus Safety magazine this year. So this intrigued me. This was a very good lead, and truth be told, there's always been something that has seemed off, in my opinion, about Hunter Kozak. Whenever he talks about what happened, he very much gives,
"My dog stepped on a bee."
in the words of a behavior analyst, his facial expressions and his words seem incongruent. Here's an example.
Yours was the last question that Charlie Kirk ever heard.
Yeah, there's a strange amount of weight to that. I don't really know how to grapple with that. I mean, he's answered tens of thousands of questions, and that was the first question I've ever asked him. We never talked before that.
There's video of you in that moment. What was that moment like?
I thought I heard a firecracker, and I see I see the bullet hit his neck, and I fall to the ground. I think I recognized immediately what this was. This wasn't necessarily like a mass shooting. This was like an assassination.
So the gentleman sitting next to Hunter is fighting back tears the whole time. Meanwhile, Hunter seems to be attempting to portray false emotions, and it just doesn't sit right with me. And I'm just deeply suspicious of how ironic Hunter Kozak's question was. And so I did a background check on Hunter Kozak, and I found a couple of his relatives. The first one that I found was a woman who I thought may be his mother, but I needed to confirm. So I found her Facebook profile, and I scrolled through the photos, and I found pictures of Hunter, and she referenced that he is her son. And so I had confirmation that this woman is his mother. But from what I can tell, she doesn't work in IT or crime prevention. She works in real estate, so no bueno. But I did see that she posted a picture of herself backstage at the Jimmy Kimmel show. Now let's just pause for a second, okay? You're probably wondering, like, why am I bringing all of this up? What's the point that I'm trying to make? And I promise you, there's a point to what I'm gonna say. When Charlie Kirk's life was taken, there were tons of people who said things that were insensitive. And the person who got the most heat out of everyone else was Jimmy Kimmel. This is what he said.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half-staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
Yes. Okay. He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction. Demolition, construction.
Now, Donald Trump's response to that question was trash. It lacked empathy and it deserved to be criticized, but after Jimmy Kimmel said what he said on his show, there was a tremendous amount of backlash and Jimmy Kimmel's show was suspended. Initially, we were told that it was suspended indefinitely and people rallied around Jimmy Kimmel, especially Hollywood celebrities, saying that canceling his show was an attack on freedom of speech. And after being off air for about a week, Jimmy Kimmel's show returned and he apologized. But make no mistake, all of this was a huge deal. Jimmy Kimmel's name had been intertwined with Charlie Kirk's name in the headlines for days. Donald Trump got involved. People from the Trump administration got involved. There were talks about passing hate speech laws off of the back of what Jimmy Kimmel had said. Granted, there were other people who were saying things that were offensive and insensitive, and people were upset about that too. But Jimmy Kimmel, of all people, became the ultimate scapegoat. The whole media circus surrounded Jimmy Kimmel specifically. So just keep all of that in mind. But let's go back to Hunter's mom. I'm scrolling through her social media and the Jimmy Kimmel show just keeps popping up. And then I see a photo of her and her husband, Steve Kozak, backstage at the Jimmy Kimmel show. Now that name has come up before at the Jimmy Kimmel show, Steve Kozak.
So anyway, we had one of these. We had a mandatory, regularly scheduled all-staff HR meeting on Zoom. They did it on Zoom. And this is the Zoom. And if you look closely, you can see Guillermo. Zoom in on that on the Zoom if you could. Fast asleep. Just sound asleep.
So, Steve Kozak works for Jimmy Kimmel. Steve Kozak, the father of Hunter Kozak, has been working for Jimmy Kimmel for years. What are the chances that Hunter Kozak asks Charlie Kirk a very ironic question right before Charlie Kirk's life is taken in front of a live audience full of thousands of people? Jimmy Kimmel then gets brought into this by the media simultaneously dogpiling on him and making him the scapegoat because of his monologue, and then it turns out that one of the higher-ups at Jimmy Kimmel's show is the father of the last person to speak to Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, that's funny.
That's weird.
You can't make this shit up, especially when you consider all of the other shady things that are going on with this case. It really makes you wonder. In terms of Hunter Kozak having a relative that has an AI company that's doing crime prevention and all of that, I've not been able to substantiate that at this time, but this whole thing with his father is very interesting. Tell me what you guys think about it in the comment section down below. The last thing I want to touch on is George Zinn. Now, I want to clarify one thing about George Zinn. George Zinn has never said that he was in New York on September 11th. In the infamous video where he discusses 9/11, he very clearly says that he was in Denver when he heard the news about it.
I was in Denver.
So I just wanted to clear that up because people keep repeating it and it's not true. But despite the fact that George Zinn wasn't actually there at Ground Zero on September 11th, he is still a very questionable character.
And he only has these jobs where he's working for an ice cream shop or a candy store or a seasonal job here or there. He works for a Mormon LDS thrift store. He never actually has like any sort of a high-paying job. And yet this guy is known as the national convention guy. He's been to almost every single presidential national convention, whether it's Republican or Democrat. We're talking Reagan, both Bushes, Donald Trump, Obama, he's been to inaugurations. He snuck his way into Ronald Reagan's funeral past Secret Service, and he like brags about this. He's met every and knows almost every senator. He knows all the university presidents in Utah. He knows, which is interesting considering the Charlie Kirk assassination. He just has a Rolodex of people, and he pops around between New York, Denver, DC, Utah, and all of these other places around the country, which would be hard to do if you're just some guy that's working at a thrift shop, making bomb threats, periodically going to jail for terrorism and getting out.
And he also managed to attend Kobe Bryant's criminal trial back in 2003.
Another George Zinn story. Yeah. Kobe Bryant gets charged in Colorado. Oh. I'm reading ESPN online. Yeah. And here's a quote by George Zinn of Utah. Mm-hmm. Did you make it into the trial?
I did. I went into a couple of them. I was just I had a Greyhound layover, and we went through Eagle, Colorado.
Where were you coming from?
It was Eagle, Colorado. And I think I was coming from a Broncos game or something. I was doing something in Denver, because I'm all the time in Denver because anyway.
Because why? Why are you all the time in Denver?
Well, I'm a Broncos fan.
Okay.
George Zinn also ran for office in Utah, and this is what he wrote about his political involvement. Additional information about the candidate. I became enthralled with politics since childhood, when my dear mother was a poll worker for years, and voting actually took place in our house. On a podcast, when he was asked what did his mother do for work, he said he didn't know.
What did your mom do for a living?
She really, I didn't know too much about her before I came in the family, but I knew she had some jobs, but she just was basically a mom.
How would you like to improve the party? I am deeply concerned at the direction our party is going, both locally and nationally. The divisiveness and disunity at every level is threatening our freedom and our sovereignty. As Ronald Reagan spoke so eloquently, government is the problem. The burden does not fall on our local or national party leaders. It rests with us. So that's what George wrote about himself back when he was running for office in Utah in 2019. Based off of his little blurb, it seems as though he was not happy with the way the Republican Party is going, and I just wonder, was that maybe a motive for him to participate in this political assassination? And something else that struck me as interesting was just how far George Zinn traveled to attend that TPUSA event. There are 2 universities in Utah with similar names. There is Utah Valley University, or UVU, which is where Charlie Kirk was the day that he died, and there is Utah State University, or USU, which just so happens to be walking distance from where George Zinn lives. Now, these 2 universities are about 3 hours apart, which means that George Zinn traveled about 3 hours to be at UVU the day that Charlie Kirk was shot. Now, what's interesting about this is that Charlie Kirk was scheduled to be at USU on September 30th had he not been killed. In other words, it would have made sense for George to have attended the September 30th event because it was going to be held within walking distance of his home. Instead, he drove 3 hours to the event on September 10th, where it just so happened that Charlie Kirk was shot. George Zinn stands up, falsely claims to be the shooter, and creates a distraction. What a coincidence. Now, George is currently an inmate in Utah prison after he was arrested for falsely claiming to be the shooter. He was charged with felony obstruction of justice, misdemeanor trespassing, and the police say they found exploitation materials on his phone, so he's being held without bail, which also means that now it's harder for people in the general public, such as myself, to try to reach out to him and interview him. Anyways, that is all I have for this video. If you liked it, please don't forget to hit the like button. If you are not yet subscribed, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you would like to support my channel, you can do so by checking out my Patreon and subscribing, or you can buy some merch. And if you are one of the people who have bought merch, please feel free to tag me on Instagram because I'd love to see it. If you like this video and you'd like to see more just like it, I will have 2 more videos for you guys in the end cards. I will see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.